Good morning again. Just to formalize and introduce the coursework, welcome to our final MOPA lecture together on cultural identity in a multicultural state, where we engage the accidental and essential notions of cultural identity by the author Miles in the field of social and political philosophy. My name is Dr. Nancy Miles Bradford JP. And this is PhD 102, 2023 second semester. We are engaging the Thursday group of main campus. The presupposition is you would have had content delivered by recording to all the classes now. We had already introduced, yes, if I'd done the whole mop-up lecture of this, but the assumption is students will still want to know that during their contact time, you engaged and touched on the team. And that is why we are looking at it very quickly indeed, and then move on to revising for the IA. As I take your question, the revision for the interim assessment will actually be driven by the class. So the student wants a clarification on something, I would have to give, but the lecture would not have to spearhead it. Otherwise, the tendency to give away certain clues is high because questions are set. And this is not a full class. This is a quarter of the class. The other half is Tuesday, and another the other half for main campus is Tuesday group. We've met them already, and the other half of the class is city campus group 1. You see that? So for the revision, the student body will drive it. You ask me a question, I clarify, then I do a quick mop-up from start to finish, like I've done for everybody. But now I'm projecting your Sakai, and the reason why I want that to be on record is to help maybe a student who is still now finding their footing. I've indicated that assessment 1, like you already know, it's already on the site. I finished grading. Yeah, finished grading. I told the Tuesday folks, some of you, even I showed them, but it wasn't on record. Some had plagiarized, but that is not news for you as you prepare to settle into your IA. You have to be focused on your interim assessment. If you have plagiarized, as in copied, as much as 80%, 94%, I showed them by projecting the site for them to see. We don't want to encourage that. That's concept 0. But if you haven't, then be at peace and focus on it. But that's for assessment 1. It was opened in week 3. That's what I'm projecting. Okay. Assessment 2, but it's not a big number. I think it's just about, for my record, 26 to 30 people then for main campus. I haven't checked fully for city campus. So because there's a makeup, again, I've reopened assessment again for that assessment 1 because of a notice we received from the college academic office pleading because of 1 or 2 hiccups. Some people had properly registered and on time, but had not been uploaded or migrated onto the Sakai, even as late as the 7th week. They pleaded that if it is possible to give the opportunity. So we have had to reopen again. You saw the notice. I think that one was also due yesterday. Hopefully, any student who had his or her shot in the course would have taken advantage of that. Would have taken advantage of that and done the assessment 1 on the site. So I'll do the few additions and release the results. Maybe even before you do your IA, so you can have some comfort. I think generally it was okay. Because of what I was looking for. I wasn't looking for any intricate, extended right. I just wanted to see how you attempt as a level 100 to engage philosophically concepts like ethical relativism and stuff like that. Okay, so that is there. But I plan to open the second one on the site. That's what I was saying. I thought I should put that on record for people who may want to hear what exactly was Doc saying. I'll open it maybe Monday, and it might be due on Friday. So the whole of week 9, you can be using that as assignment. It will be a reading assignment to help you engage and reflect on that content, which you will see in the final exam. I'm talking about the last topic we are discussing. But this topic will not be part. I don't plan to make it a part of your interim assessment. I'll review my questions right after our lectures today. and check if there are such traces. If there will be traces, they will not be substantive topics. They may just be trivial, like what are the features of culture that makes it non, essentialist in approach, like something like culture is elusive, it is dynamic, and so you can't expect it to be static. Those ones are easily accessible, not substantive questions on the topic. Why? So the unit, the last topic, you will see its essay open for you as assessment 2. There's a reason why. So that you will have 10% records on Sakai for 2 assessments. But I have so many. I think some of the groups you have even done more than 3 or 4 in class assessments for if you compare both main and physical. At least not less than 2 for every group. I will look at that and pick the best mark and put on my +1 participation, whatever, file. That is an extra mark you are earning to add to what you get. Look on my screen now. Assessment 1, 10%. Assessment 2, 10%. Your interim assessment that you're going to do is 30%. That's 50 already. The final exam is 50, making 100. So you would already have your over 100 from here. But I'll still use the ones you've done in class, monitored, of course, to a degree. Some only checking attendance to support and augment, that's the word, whichever mark you get. That is where someone could get 73, for example, or if they total their exam plus attack and still make an A. A margin of 8 marks would have been added to the person's effort. They earned it, you see, to boost their marks. Someone could get maybe 42 after totaling assessment 1, assessment 2, I final exam, and yet you could see 50 to end the person a pass and move on. Where did that 8 mark come from? In class, unannounced, sometimes +1s, +2s that were earned, and so on. Okay, so I'll use those for that. That's why I want to open the second one for you to get your own raw effort in the course recorded for you. We'll do that after your eye. Focus now on your eye and do well. You do very fine. Don't you'll be shocked when you see the question. You say, doc, this one now my pressures are. You'll do fine. Now, so look at the topic we've done. We've done what is philosophy. Why study philosophy? There we have seen how to read or write philosophy. Philosophy is normative. Philosophy is argumentative. Doesn't describe. It's not narrating stories. No, it's not a matter of recounting. No, that's not philosophy. It's more what you make of the theories you are studying. That is its push, especially when we are going to write our essays in the final examination. The IA, because of our numbers and because we want to cover a wide range of the topics we've done, will be more multiple choice. That is reflected. Even there's there's some much with critical thinking going on around how you are responding to those seemingly MCQ. They're not just record. They check a certain degree of your understanding of the content, but you always have a choice to pick from, so we can get results done right after the eye. By the close of the day, if the last batch is done, I release the result for your eye. You can add it to your assessment 1 mark and know where you stand already. Then we can anticipate what you do in the other one. Okay, so how to read it, the branches, as I say it now, I'm sure if you have done some good engagement of the course, they are falling in places. Branches of philosophy, I'm sure you are hearing in your mind: metaphysics, epistemology, value theory, ethics, aesthetics, which as soon as I say that, then the sub-branches, socio-political philosophy, even philosophy as a second order activity, they are there. The approaches to doing philosophy, as soon as I say that, I'm sure you are hearing speculative and analytic approach, the challenges you can have with both, the strengths of both approaches of doing philosophy. Then the value and usefulness of the philosophical enterprise. You should know why it is a valuable enterprise. What about it makes it valuable? There's slides to guide you, lectures recorded lecture links to playback if you want to. I have pointed everyone. I do that all the time to the channel. I do that. Yesterday, one fine colleague of yours, I think it was doing right thing, first time. Just that the timing might make some people feel that others had an advantage, just in case they didn't see it. That's why I speak to the generality of the class, not a subset, all the time. I say you can go there. There are recordings done in the past on the topic for the same course by the same person, addressing the same level of students. It's a mop-up. The lecture is delivered. You can always have that to look at, to review if you are interested. So do that if you want to. Okay. Some say, no, I don't have a recording on the what is philosophy high study. I say, oh, but we did the full lecture. We go and see if you can find it somewhere recorded just to help your revision. Topic 2 looks at Plato's two worlds. Immediately I say this, you should hear world of reality versus world of appearance and the various versions of that same distinction. It could also be said to be world of concept versus world of versus sorry, I got a bit distracted. So the concept, that's ideas versus what? Concreteness, sense. The world of forms versus world of particulars. All these are the same. They are labeling Plato's two worlds. The characteristics of each, what the ideal, or if you like the perfect form is, the good, remember, what the symbolism represents, who the experts in the cave are, and why even the experts in the cave could still be considered by Plato as not knowledgeable in the sense that what they have in the cave is not knowledge. If it's not knowledge, what it is, these ones should immediately start coming to mind as you engage it. And then the very important point he makes about the prisoner returning to the cave, the released prisoner, that is, in other words, the one who has been enlightened through what? Reflection of the mind. Why he has to feel compelled to return to the cave and be ready to face opposition, obviously because the people do not know the light outside of the cave and all that. All that should be captured as you look at this course outline. Your mind should be thinking that, okay, that's the allegory of the cave. Then week 3, we did a theory of human nature. And we focused on Ortega's man has no nature. The earlier one, topic 1, I think I should also help you remember Bamijechi, how he defines philosophy, a conceptual response to practical existential problems. We saw some wise sayings that are attributed to Socrates. The unexamined life is not worth living. A life that is not subjected to constant reflection is not worth living. You know that. Now, to Ortega, his discussion on anti-natural, extra-natural, all those things will come. They will come. I don't know how they will come, but they will come. So yours is just to revise and know. You don't know which person will get to you. I've created the pool. They will pick fair number from each pool on the topic. You don't know which one will come to you. So yours is to know. I don't know which will go to who, but there will be questions we have engaged. So you want to get yourself reminded. So man's nature does not consist in a man's nature consists in not yet being. All those King James kind of language that we read. What was it meant to do? You should have a grasp of that. Then we move to ethics proper. Week 4, a question of ethics. We introduced it, showing you what ethics is, even helping you as a philosopher see how you could distinguish the ethical from the moral. Then why it is that the ethical may not necessarily be legal or cultural or what have you. We did all those discussions there with instances to make the point. The ethical may not even be religious and vice versa. Sometimes they may coincide. Oftentimes they may not. Something may be religiously acceptable, ethically problematic, you see. So you have to be able to, you see how I'm delivering the content. It doesn't have to sound all technical, you're in the world of form, people who know, just in a relaxed posture. If you have understood the content, understanding, not just you have chewed it. And I think that generally we have a relatively very good class. I told you, your TH. Just some have a posturing that has to be constantly from 10. It's normal with level 100. Like a sense of if it doesn't go, that one is my mother. No. Ortega told you, you've got to take responsibility and be accountable for the choices you make. Okay. So personhood, autonomy, informed consent. What goes into informed consent? The steps that you must go through. I think we saw 4 of them. What the ethical dilemmas could be in medical ethics if we were ensuring beneficence, ensuring non-maleficence, and at the same time ensuring patient autonomy. They are all required of us. How do we reconcile them? And what will be our reason? Remember the ethical reflection questions there you engaged in. Then we also saw utility or rule. We focused on that discussion around business ethics, but like I kept saying, it can apply to politics, apply to religion, apply to society, everyday life. When we want to make a decision, ethical decision for that matter, what will be our standard of measurement? Are we looking at the outcome, the consequences of the action, or we are actually interested in the action itself and its value ethically? You see, some will say, oh, but what is the sense in embarking on the right action if its consequences will not be beneficial? So some are consequentialists. They say, measure, check what it will do. So if you will steal or tell a lie to save a life, it's okay, says one group of people in the consequentialists. But they say, no, you have to be focused on yourself. Look at the consequence. But as it benefits you, so egoism, and you have to be trying to connect them in your mind's eye. Or if it is not connected, then you quickly go to your review and check the content again. I think there's a recording on that also. You can find them on the site on my academic channel, or go to your announcement to here on Sakai and pull the links that I have shared if you have them. Or on the academic channels on YouTube, it's either PHL 102 playlists that you should go through, or if you're not finding some topic we've done in that one, look at the PHL 201 playlist. You will find that topic there. It's either 102 or 201. I alternate them for those 2 courses. Okay, so you can do that and fill in any gap you have. You would quickly want to know egoism, altruism, and then utilitarianism. What am I doing so far? Oh, sorry. I'm trying to help you see what we have done. But as we do that, you see that we are also revising, and I am pointing out without us actually teaching anything new, but emphasizing to help you. Your friends will say, so can you throw some light on? But yes, I'm throwing torch lights and also no light. Plus the one that you use at the stadium for you to see, okay? And it is helping you remember it. Then you know that for the utilitarian maxim, is the greatest good for the greatest number. JS Mill will measure that good in terms of quality, whilst Bentham will measure that greatest good in terms of quantity. Yet they are both utilitarians, opposed, if you like, to Kantianism or deontology, from the word deon, duty. What does deontology say? Do the right thing for its own sake, because it has intrinsic worth, finished, not because of any consequences. Don't look at the consequences, because if you do that, you may be tempted to use human beings as a means to attaining an end. And you should never do that. Human beings cannot be used to get anything. Human being, the human person is dignified in herself, in himself. That is what we appeal to when we are talking autonomy. Respect the human being as a dignified entity. You don't use the human being as a means to attain another. So you can say we can kill one person to save the 99 in the boat if the boat is sinking out of excessive weight. He says, no, that can never be justified. Killing one to save 99, says saying that one should be used to attain some higher quality, human beings are an end in themselves. This is all coming from deontologist Immanuel Kant. And so he says you cannot justify morally, ethically, the telling of a lie just because it saved a life. He says, will you like it if telling a lie had become universal? So that's his principle of universalizability that he uses to judge and tell, you and I, we cannot ever steal from the rich, for instance, to take care of the poor, like Robin Hood did, and justify that after all, the end was to make the poor better. If you were the rich man, would you like your goodies to be stolen? Would you like it if stealing became a universal law so that when you have gone to steal to come and feed the poor, then the master among the poor people, when you give it to him to share to his folks, he steals, or will you say, are you stealing the things of you? Now you say stealing is not good again. So Robin Hood cannot, and the Robin Hoodian kind of thinking, according to Kant, is not justifiable. You do the right thing because it is right for its own sake. That's duty. A bit more on that, like I said in class, if you go to do moral philosophy in some time, that was 300. But we saw a very good introduction of that. Also, focusing on business ethics. Remember the ethical question given to you to reflectively consider whether you look at utility or rule. Then we move to objectivity, relativism, universalizability, all the isms. You remember them? Emotivism, subjectivism. Take notes and revise that topic very well. You will do very fine there. That's where we saw the distinction between ethical relativism and cultural relativism, and why we say one is defensible, the other is not, ethically speaking. You cannot have what is right to be prescribed, prescription, by a subjective or a collective view. No, because of the ethical implications of that. But the diversity of culture cannot be denied. So one is just describing, as the other one is prescribing the supposed what relativism. And the description one is not something you can contend. We are different, and we will always be different. Climate, national, whatever. So the topic will mop up for it today. You see that we'll be touching on the need to respect and recognize our differences and our different participation in culture and practices. But it goes further to say you cannot say that there is anything in my being that makes me essentially say Ga and not Fante, or Fante and not Eve. There is nothing in my being. It's just how we do our categorizations. And so you shouldn't go pursuing ethical identity with some essential notion in mind. No, there isn't. So you know essentialism now. You can see that's the whole debate. It's around cultural identity and how it is wrongly understood to be something when it should rather be understood to be another. So it should be understood as an accidental feature about how human societies are organized. If I change my location, I will participate different. If I go to China right now, I have to live the way the Chinese do culturally. If I am a Ghanaian liking my kente cloth and I go to Iceland, I cannot go there wearing my kente. I will die out of ice. It's simple. So how I do things, which is culture, will vary depending on where I am. That is not in contention. That is a description of the difference. But if I say what is right and wrong to right, ethical, the ethics should, not that I'm saying it is decided by the cultural group. That would have been just a description of what is there. We can now do a judgment of it. But the other person, who is the ethical relative, is not just describing differences in culture. He is saying that that is how it should be. And we say that is problematic. Okay, that's problematic because if I think you are a sausage, because my culture defines a human person as food, for instance, then it means when I see you, you should allow yourself to be cut into pieces and put on my food. How will we resolve anything? How will there be legal systems? How? How would we organize human society at all? You come back from wherever you've gone to, someone is in your room. And you ask, what are you doing? I say, I came to eat. Why? Oh, in my culture, we feel free. We feel free. When you enter into a farm and there's food, they eat some. After all, you know, I had them, Nana. but your culture doesn't. So there will be conflict and so on and so forth. So we went through a lot of discussions around, especially ethical and cultural relativism, objectivism, and the others. Remember, objectivism for a reason. The same thing is labeled universalism for a reason. When we call it absolutism, there's a reason. You have to engage that content. I think that I put a recording together on that also, one of the recorded lectures also. You can always refer to that. Check your announcement tool for the links. Each notice is clearly labeled. Maybe recording on objectivity, whatever, and then playback if you feel you need an additional. Okay, that was week 6. Very good. Then for week 7, we went to introducing epistemology. So you see that the substantive topics so far are what? What is philosophy? Why study philosophy? That's topic 1. 2, metaphysical questions. That's the second one. Just two topics inside that. Then so that will make it 3. Then topic 3, substantive topic 3 is ethical questions. Just that we took 2 subtopics there. You see how you study. So deontology is there, and then consequentialist as utilitarians are there. That makes it 5 topics. And then now we are introducing epistemology. The question of knowledge, what it is, skepticism is discussed, the various versions of them. Absolute skepticism that is not defensible, a philosophical one that is very important for us because it becomes a watchman that is watching the watchman. And then the common sense one, which everyone has. Everyone has a certain degree of doubt that makes him want to seek to know. And because absolute skepticism we learned is not defensible, we can know something then. If we can know something, then how do we know? What do we call knowledge? We know that. Revise that. Justified true belief, what we said. And what are the sources for the claims of knowledge we make? Either the senses or the empirical source, if we put them all together. And then the rational source. We know that also. Based on those introductory sessions, we looked at the question of certainty as asked by Rene Descartes. Okay, keep looking at your screen. So unit 7, I say unit 7, week 7, engaged between knowledge and what? Certainty. We had even introduced it earlier, but unit 7, week 7, sorry, engaged substantively. We saw Descartes' 2 meditations 1 and 2, how he doubts sensory knowledge, the 2 arguments he makes, limitations of the senses first, then for distant objects, sensory object. And then what about closed objects? He uses the dream argument. What about nonsensed, truths like a priori truth, 2 plus 3 equals 4, a bachelor has beaten his wife, analytic truths such as they don't depend on sense. How would I doubt that? He appeals to the evil genius argument. After doing all these doubting, we know Descartes arrives at what? Certainty at last. I think, therefore, I am cogito ergo sum. If I am thinking, then it establishes my knowledge of my existence as Descartes with what? Certainty. It is the thinking that certifies my existence. Because if not, then what is the thing doing the thinking? What is the thing that is doubting its existence? What is the thing that is affirming, denying? So I just showed you some of the mental states that Descartes says. Anytime that is going on, then he's certain. Anytime there's consciousness, state of being, then it is a sure sign, without any doubt, that his own existence is certain. And not a dream, not the evil demon, nor the external world can deceive him about that. Now, with that truth, Descartes then builds his whole epistemology, which you can engage in rationalism. With a good foundation like this, you see that when you go into these other topics or courses in the discipline, the department, you are fine. Now, so that was between knowledge and certainty. And in week 8, we are doing the essential and accidental. Look on your screen. You see what we have done. So there is no way to say, hey, did we finish every topic? No, everything. That's what I've done. Is I've gone through again with you, just in case there is a brother or a sister who feels that we still have some time. No, it's a lie. We are well covered. Miles' essential and accidental notions of cultural identity. Understanding the concept, like I introduced, I think your class had an advantage. I told you in class last week when we met. I actually did the whole, fine tuning from start to finish before we even did our last our class last week. See? And then now you have the recordings from the other classes. And I still want to highlight one or two things to make sure that you feel confident that you have a good grasp of that topic. In preparation for the assignment, I'll open on that board within Monday to be due maybe Thursday or Friday or something. You have a whole week, day and night to relax and put. I think it will just be a critical summary on a specific part of the reading for you to write and earn it. Okay. After that, week 9, look at what week 9 would have been for to discuss the interim assessment. You see that we are on track and mop up all topics treated. That will be next week. Then week 10, we'll do revision, student queries, exam preparation. You see, we are well on course. Because I am likely going to be away the last week, we will pull the week 10 discussions also and to week 9, sometime in week 9 there, and take your exam questions, students, your queries, any revision you still want us to have. I've tried to do this constantly, revising with you, taking queries, prompting about the nature of your exam. 5 questions, you would answer 2. I'm thinking of a compulsory one, choose an alternative one to add, but we'll see. Either way, don't think of punching. Punching means people look at the topics done and say, okay, me, I'm going to study only 2 topics. By all means, there'll be a question from that. So I won't learn the others and answer. There is a handicap with that way of approaching academic work, especially at the introductory level. You will climb up the staircase to the next level. Then you will see that there are a lot of loopholes. When you enter the next level, in case you are in the department still, you see that you don't have a grasp of the whole foundation because of how you started. Your foundation has to be very strong. So that's why the eye will be on all topics. I don't want to encourage punch, what have you. I could ask 5 questions for you to choose any two that is. And for each of those 5 questions, if one question encompasses about 4 topics because of how I've asked it. So it will mean that you should have had some contact of a kind with all the topics to be able to answer any one of them. So you can pick question 1, and I don't want to give any clue, but how it is asked, you should have engaged some Ortega, for instance, some Plato, and some Descartes to be able to answer just that one. Then question 2, you should have been able to engage some cultural identity in a multicultural state and whatever, plus maybe some consequentialism, plus some business ethics of a kind to be able to answer. So it is always an intertwined topic. So you are not there to punch any. Your duty is to cover all what you have been nicely served with, and then go with an understanding to, good content. Okay, so that is it. 5 questions, definitely you will answer likely any 2. But the any 2 is what could become 1 compulsory, then 1 optional. I wish I don't have to do it that way. It will all be so clear by final week. 2 questions only. If there's a compulsory question, then the compulsory will be 35 marks. The optional one will be 50. I feel for level 100, that might be too much. So it's likely you do any 2. So there's a split 25, 25 for each of the essays. And then you do 5. Your introduction should tell us what you want to do in the paper. That's how you write philosophical. You don't talk plenty. This paper assess, that's the introduction. I start here and suppose I say critically examine Descartes, blah, blah, blah. This paper will critically examine Descartes, blah, 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 blah. In paragraph 1, I will do this. In paragraph 2, I will engage that. The 3rd paragraph will review this. In conclusion, I seek to say that played no, Descartes' defense for the is, accurate or defensible. Full stop. That's introduction philosophy. You look at the philosophical texts I've given you, whether they go and start, the brightness of this day has given me the opportunity to, what is that? That's not philosophy. Background, plenty, background, no. Narrations, no. Plato was born this, and because of, no, it's not philosophy. Philosophy goes straight to the point. Everything you are saying is accountable. I seek to write in this paper to agree with, so suppose the question asks you to agree. I'm not giving you any question. I'm just showing you how. Tell us, the first part of my write-up will engage this. You know why? Because it's a plan that will guide how you are writing. The next paragraph after that will do so and so and so and so. I will reconcile the view of the rationalist and the empiricist in the third paragraph. By the end of this paper, I will be arguing to show that this. See? And then when you make your point, you want to incorporate it with examples, enrich it. Illustrations help you put concreteness to what you are saying that seems abstract. That's why I teach the way in class. I will be putting a lot of, I'll connect it so it's come out. That's what you mean. That's how you write philosophically. You illustrate, and then you anticipate what your opponent will say to what you are. Suppose you want to argue in defense of consequentialism, for example. You have to know that the deontologists will have queries, will raise objections. So you should have a response for the deontologists to show why going consequentialism is a better option than deontology. That's what we call argued paper. Okay? So those ones is what you need for the final exam when you are preparing. The IADO will not require all of this. It will require your ability to show that you have engaged content, and so it will be generally covering everything. So see your note for interim assessment test scheduled for the weekend of week 8 to be announced in class after we have done that now. You know your schedules. Go to the center at your time. Don't joke, because GCS will be working like something. Even my courses alone. For UGRC, they will start writing IA tomorrow, God willing. They end next Thursday. It's almost a week because of the numbers. They pull the Saturday to take care of our 102 your classes, your courses, my 204, then my level 300, 304 class sizes. They take the whole of Saturday out. Don't go messing around. I missed it. I've come. You will lose a 30 mark. Grow up, everyone now. Of course. Don't have that lackadaisical, I'm doing, I'm not doing attitude. You will lose a 30 mark that no one can do anything about. No one is not going to set up another IA and get invigilators. You are not going to pay them. The university does. This is on-site, online. So if you miss it, you've missed it. Please be minded. People have that attitude and they send an email, "Doc, you're a woman of God. May God touch your heart." Hey, and I am not the university. The university has rules. So you go there, take your ID with you. If for some reason there's need to check, you have to produce it because we have to know whether you are the one who have come to write, okay, and all that, and you do verify. Okay, then the instructor may alter if she deems it fit, but I didn't think we needed to alter the readings. And so that is your course outline to help you revise, but also to keep you on track. May I take any questions you have? I'm done. Raise your hand if you have any questions, very quickly. Whilst I wait for the hands to shoot up, I think I can also ask you, tell me what you saw in multiculturalism and the notion of cultural identity. If you were asked to do a quick summation, okay, there's a hand up now. I can take that one very quickly. Please ask your question. Tell ma'am, I can't see the screen yet. I'm still working on something. Just unmute and ask your question. Okay, there are two. So let's take Kevin. Kevin, ask your question first. I'll check Sherif later.
Okay, ma'am. Please, the question I have has to do with the naturalistic fallacy.
Yes.
And my understanding of it, it says that the naturalistic fallacy has to do with we prescribing that something should be the way it is because that is how it is already. So I wanted to find out that then that gives a valid argument to the LGBTQ movement because the fact
Which
that
one is that? Do you understand it naturally? No, don't. Okay, you finish it. Go ahead.
okay,
Go ahead.
okay,
Finish.
and my understanding of the naturalistic fallacy has to do with if like somebody prescribing that something should be the way it is because that is how it has been. That's
That
how
is
I.
not the, that is not sorry, sir. That is not the naturalistic fallacy.
Okay.
Which I think that your question then would be, so can you clarify a little bit more what the
Oh,
naturalistic fallacy is?
oh, okay. It was on that on the premise of my previous understanding. That was where I
Don't
had
worry, don't
questioned.
worry. So let me yes, it's fine. So let me help you and others that like you that may have a question about what we call the naturalistic fallacy. See that
Okay.
when you argue that this is what is naturally the case. In other words, if we're observing, this is what we see. From that, you say, therefore, this is how things should be. For example, if you say, oh, in Ghana, people study under trees. As for studying under trees in Ghana, it's normal. So it should be okay for people to study under trees. Kevin, if you said that, you are arguing, and that argument is committing a naturalistic fallacy. You say that is what is naturally the case here. Natural here meaning that's what we see here. Ghana there, I mean, bribing the police is normal. Apologies. You see the person speaking. The person say, oh, but giving 10 Ghana or 20 Ghana to police in Ghana there, it's normal. That is what is the case here. Is therefore, look at the conclusion, but therefore it should be okay. If find some 20 and give to the police. The person is not saying it is done, therefore it should be done. Without interrogating whether what is done is ethically acceptable or not. Oh, they go on there, student fetch. So we should just let them go and fetch and stop disturbing us. They should go and fetch. Should, because it is. When you move from what is the case to conclude that therefore it should be the case, then we say you are committing the naturalistic fallacy. That is what it is. And so we apply that there to show that the cultural relativism is only describing what is the case. What is the case is that people do things differently. Asa, people don't do things in the same culture is how we do things. That's all. How we live, how we dress, how we greet, how we worship, how we what was the other one? Uh, these are different. Even the climate will tell you. When I say climate, the natural condition of the atmosphere tells you that some people wear jackets, winter clothing, and others wear summer very light clothing because the atmosphere, the environment is hot. You can wear snow dresses at a place where the atmosphere is very hot. So you see that they wear, like if you watch like a Coco Bay then, or these telenovelas, you see that they wear short things sometimes, their arms are short because that place is hot. You want to wear that in winter, Iceland, snowy, it won't work. So how people dress, the food people will eat will depend on where they find themselves. That's what culture is. That helps us to do some bit more purple, the last topic. See. So defining what is the case is what cultural relativism is doing. And that is not problematic at all. But our argument, the problem is when you move from that to say that therefore, because people do things differently, that's right, because cultures are different, therefore, what is right or wrong to should be defined by the culture. We tell you are no longer doing cultural relativism. You have moved from the relativism, the differences in culture, to say that There are differences also in what should be considered right or wrong. That is moving from what is to saying what ought to be the case. You are committing the naturalistic fallacy there. That's it. Take care of it. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, madam. And I want to ask a question now based on this understanding.
I'm listening, sir.
Okay. So I want.
Oh, I'm listening, no, sir. Please
Yes,
come
so
again.
I
We
wanted
lost you.
to.
I lost you a little.
Okay.
Why?
I wanted to take the context of the anti-LGBT bill that was being discussed earlier in Ghana. And so does that mean people who were um, proposing that since Ghana is a heterosexual society, we shouldn't allow homosexuality? Are they committing a naturalistic fallacy? Like that's
Is
what
okay.
I.
So let me ask you: is when someone robs, armed robber is arrested, eh, and he tells you,
Okay.
"Oh, but I'm coming. Let me finish." Okay, so you understand, and you catch the person selling weed. The policeman sees him and say, "Hey," and puts a handcuff on him. And the guy says, "Oh, why you buy weed there this area?" You know I'm speaking guy because I'm in Accra. Okay. This area there, we all say we here is normal. So you can't arrest me. What should the policeman see? Or if you were driving on the highway and the person jumps the traffic light, when it showed red, he drives through it, and then you arrest him and he says, "Oh, but boss, this thing everybody is doing something." Some even drive on the stretches, the side when there's intense traffic. When you stop the person, then it tells you, "But this one, all of us, that's what we do here." So should we do it that way? I'm sure you answered. Don't go to LGBTQRW. Is it? Don't worry yourself to go to that extent. Use armed robberies. So you see that. Use the because it is the legality law, what the law calls acceptable or unacceptable, that runs the state. And we have already seen that sometimes what is legal may not be ethical. And sometimes what is ethical may not be legal. So don't before you go into the merits or the demerit, look, abortion for some is not only an ethical matter. Ethically, it would never be justified because you don't give life, you can't take it. That's why you or the doctor who even prescribes it for that mother, a fine woman married. It's not like a young girl that has mistakenly gotten herself, like the Yvonne Nelson one that we all know. I can speak about it because she put it in the public. It's not that this time the person is in marriage, properly married, that they don't have any issues about I'm not ready or I can't take care of it. No, maybe there are complications. The child could kill the mother, or the mother could kill the child if one doesn't go because of maybe ectopic or something around that. The doctor could prescribe that we have to abort the child. And we have to do it very quickly before we lose both mother and child. Even then, that at that stage, taking a life you didn't give is not sweet. Euthanasia is the same. Mercy killing. I think I introduced you to that. You see that the person is tired or bled. They can't get help. It's just lying there like a vegetable. Sometimes they beg you, please kill me and go. It happens often at the military, when people, like say, putting Zelensky's fight that is going on all this while. A wounded soldier may plead and tell the police that shoot me before you go. Because if you leave me and the opponents grab me, what they will do to me is worse. And I cannot run with you, and we are under pressure. Now, that shooting to assist your colleague die may be good for the colleague. It doesn't justify the taking of life. That is the argument for others. Why? So you don't give life. Life is inalienable. It's not something you can go and take because you think it's like tomatoes. So what am I saying? The ethical justification for things It's not the same as the legality of it. That's why for some states, when I say it's not the same, sometimes they coincide, sometimes they don't. Some states think that it is a legal right that people have to determine where they want to put their something. Okay. Others think that the laws of their land does not permit it. In the past, it wasn't clear. There's no clarity. I think as of yesterday, we've heard that the law has been something. I wasn't listening to it. I thought the whole day, but I know that there's something on the LGBTQ now for Ghana. As soon as it is codified as law, now you can reference it when you have to decide legal matters. The ethics of it is still subject to discussion. It may be that ethically too, a vast majority of the Ghanaian population think that it is not acceptable ethically. But ethics don't talk at the law court. You see, whether for it or against it, it's not ethics that talks at law. It is law, what binds us, commonly accepted by the people. How? Through the, that's why I went to parliament. Parliament is you and I. That's what it means. Since all of us cannot enter one room and vote, our representation there is making a decision that they believe is for us. That's what parliament is for. So the people have put their signature, so to speak, to say that this is how we, the people of Ghana, want to be governed. And Ghana has that sovereignty to decide that. Okay, so now it has become a legality matter. We can always query it if we think it is not acceptable. Just like armed robbery, just like, oh, I don't have school. Ghana doesn't have school. That's why I become an armed robber. And I went to shoot that policeman. Why? How can you say that? So what that is the case here? It's still small, then you can manage. Are you saying that is the case? So it should be the case? Should? Someone say, oh, no, there. Then what does the law say? Because the ethics of it may be having contention. Robin Hood thinks it's okay to steal to save a life. Why would he run away when he steals? Because the law, which is now not just a matter of our ethical perspective to it, but the law, if you go and steal to save your sick mother, like the example we gave at the when we're doing the business ethics, the accountant doesn't know what to do. He steals from the company to save his mother. Ethically, some may think it's okay. The consequences were okay. You saved your mother. Kali, when you enter the prison, when you go, you come back there. No, my mommy will even bring the food there. What you did is not bad. That is the consequential. The deontology, still ethics. The deontology says what you did is wrong. So while they are busy saying it's wrong is right, what does the law say? Because it's the law that is used to govern the state, not ethics, not morality. Morality only helps us use our eyebrows to tell Auntie Adua that you, this swimming costume, you have want to write exam. Hey, Emma, are you going to write exam? But that's all you can do if it's a moral matter. But if you like, let the sister go and take somebody's laptop without their permission and run away. Whether it is just a matter of your eyebrows. You see the difference? So if it's ethical or morality, it might not be as binding as when it becomes a codified, engrafted, reference point. That's what law is. And that one, if the lawyer can cite it and say, my lord, Minyami, so and so and so and so, the person has breached law, so and so and so. Is it a civil one? Hey, is it a civil one? Is it a criminal one? Is it this? Based on what was done, you will get your sanction. So that is where the LGBTQ discussion, as we have it in Ghana now, has gone to. Compared to another state, maybe it's okay legally, not religiously now, not a religious law. Remember your critical thinking, not a civil law, not a, what's the other one? Not a customary law, no. Now it is a question of statutory. We have put it into the laws that arrest people. I think that's what has been done, or is being done now. Second, okay, all right. There was another hand before Christina spoke. Kevin, are you okay? Kevin, it's Kevin. This is Kevin. Please react. Let me know if you're okay. Then we can move on.
Yes, madam. Please, I'm okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Now we can take, so it's a legal thing now. It's no longer an ethical, just ethical. Ethical, yeah, we can all have our viewpoint. If I'm consequentialist, I can say, after all, it's not my something someone is destroying or something. Consequentialists of a type can say, look, we don't look at the consequences of allowing that for the generality of our nation. A few may have something that could affect the whole. We don't have so many hospitals just in case people have complications, like other states do. Even flooding, you can't manage. And traffic, if someone has an emergency because they used what we want to call uncanal knowledge, and there's an emergency, look at the traffic in Africa or Ghana that we have to go to. If there's flooding, you are stuck in your hall. You can't go to your bedroom because you can't even step out to collect salt from your neighbor. It takes days. Didn't you see the news? We have our complications. That may be a consequentialist of a type's argument. So you say sacrifice a few to benefit the whole. It's an ethical matter. We will keep to the other. Someone say, no, it's not good. And the other, no, if it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. Whilst we are busily doing ethical discussions like this, there is a state to organize. So the legality of a matter is what is at stake now. It's no longer within the purview of, our faith doesn't permit that, or it permits it, or we have to love or hate, or that discussion is plenty long talk. Right now it is it okay to steal or not to steal? You say, but this one I have not stolen. I only borrowed brother's thing without his permission. Go to court and go and explain. Is it okay to jump the traffic or not to jump? You say, but this one, there was an emergency. I was in a hurry there. When you go to court, they're going to talk the rightness of your emergency or the wrongness of it. Right now, the law says if the traffic light shows red, don't cross. See, but my daughter was dying. Well, when you go to court, that's why if you arrest someone supposedly on the grounds that they have broken the law, it is not in those of you who do philosophy at the 10 level, who do some of these discussions, social and political philosophy, the contract you have. You don't have the authority now to adjudicate, to judge, and determine the merits, and say that because you took a laptop, I have slapped you. That's why instant justice is not justifiable, no matter what, because of the kind of state we run now. It's an organized civil society. There are people mandated to do the arrest. If for some reason you have to do the arrest, you take them to that person within a certain time frame. Otherwise, if I'm jealous of you and your car, I can come and say that you guys think I've arrested you. Hey, get down. And adjudicate immediately. Why? Because I actually want your car. You haven't done anything. So there has to be a party. That's what we call the judiciary, who now listens. That's why it's called court hearings. They hear. It's not for you, the one who feels offended, to judge. Because if you are the offended, you can say that you took my 1 pound of flesh. In place of it, I want your whole body and your family and your generation now. How? That's not fair. What? So there are people to do the arrest. You can for a period and give it to them, the police. Even the police doesn't make a judgment of a matter. Remember, they will go to court if they think that you've broken the law too. The prosecutor will take you there and go and show the people who adjudicate that this is why this person must be put into custody or something. Then the judge will look at what the law says. You think the judge is saying what they want? Some are people of faith. Some may even agree with the thief that, hey, Anka, this one, what should the person do? You should let the mother go and die. When your papa, hey, brother, you have saved your mother. Maybe they agree on the morals of it. But the law is what they are obliged to respect. That's why when we are enacting or whatever a law, it's a serious matter for society. Okay, my dear friends. So as soon as the thing becomes a legal matter, you think Anka Jesus will be killed? It is a law. So the father had to close his eyes and watch his son die on the cross, so that the law, the legality will be fulfilled. To fulfill righteousness, what it is stated. After that, they checked, and then the law now is on the prosecutor because he wrongly judged and sentenced someone who had not sinned. Now I just spoke a Christian version. Hasn't sinned. So now the law will hold you to accountable. Whatever he says, okay, then the killing you killed me, it is for Kevin. Kevin, come out. Meanwhile, maybe Kevin too has stolen plenty, for example. But now that you have wrongly killed a person that had not done anything, the same law will hold your account. You say, okay, then it is also for. I'm just looking at the names on my screen. No ill intended. Then it is also for Faustina. Faustina, you two, what did you do? Come out. That's what Jesus is doing per the Christian faith. Because the law put him, he was accused. So he had to die. The soul that's in it must die. He was bearing the sins, he must die. It's legalism. That is not ethics or morality. I think that the point is made. Let me take Faustina. There was I wrote down the name, but I don't know if the person's concern is gone. I even mentioned your name. If it is still there, please ask before I take Faustina. If not, then Faustina can go ahead with her question. Thank you, Kevin. Faustina, go ahead.
Ma, please, I want to ask if the determinism and then Plato's um essence,
Essentialism.
yes, is it similar? Because it's like the determinism is saying that things are casually conditioned such that they could not be otherwise. So I want to know if it's supporting Plato's argument.
What do you think? We didn't discuss determinism. You are playing a lot of recordings there. I just gave you an introduction to it.
Yes.
But so don't worry, we do it in level 200 proper. Free willism versus determinism, the versions
Oh,
of it,
okay.
and what have you. Don't worry. But because I introduced it when we saw Ortega, who is
Yes.
an existentialist, you will see that essentialism, that's Plato's view, will have a certain tone of determinism in it.
Yeah.
If you're an essentialist, that's why I gave you some of the church folks' views that I believe have an essentialist tone because they tally. You can equate them to what Plato is saying. Plato says, you already knew something before you took on flesh. The forms are already known. It's called his theory of innate identity. You know it already. That's
Yes.
why when you diffuse yourself of the physical body, more of that, you are able to see clearly because the real you is not the physical. That's Plato. That sounds like before you were a blood clot in your mother's womb, I knew you and had ordained you to be a prophet or something like that. So there is a certain sense in which some may think of essentialism as not just even determinism, but also as predeterminism. And that's a whole discussion. So I don't want to worry you with that. And it's not for your level 100 at all. We'll do it in level 200 where we do problems of philosophy, not just questions of philosophy. What we are doing now is philosophical questions, introducing you to the questions. And as we keep ourselves introduced to questions, you see that before long, we realize that some of the questions, they don't go away. They have become problematic. Imagine, like rationalism, empiricism, like free willism, determinism, like realism versus idealism. So we engage those as problems of philosophy in 200 as a continuity of this. You do that one in 201, right after this, God willing, if you have that. So we'll see it. Why? Very good. But just to
Thank
say
you.
that if you are welcome. If you are essentialist, it's likely you have a certain sense of determined, like there's something that you are already made to be that you are going to work towards, which Ortega and his friends say is a lie. No, you choose what you want to be. You, Emmanuel, your question, please.
Okay, Doc, please,
Mhm.
the differences between deontology and rule utilitarianism, is it is
What
it
do you?
not is it not an
Yes,
issue of semantics?
yeah,
Because
very good. It's a good observation. Don't because yourself, why, my brother. Yes, it's true. When you do moral philosophy, you see it. We carry the rule utilitarian. You yourself, do you want to be do you want to be consequentialist or deontologist? That's what we ask the rule utilitarian. Because what you are saying, you are supposed to be a a consequentialist. Yet you are saying we should ensure that our action obeys a rule that is. What are you doing? You want to eat your cake and still have it? So it's a good observation, Emmanuel, which you will expand on and build on when you get to level 300. At this level, we just showed you the main questions around what consequentialists, deontologists push to it. But you will engage it and you see that that critique you have raised is a very legitimate one. It is as if the consequentialists who wants to be a rural utilitarian. It means it looks like he wants to be a little hot, a little cool. And that one, God says he will spew you out of his mouth. Let us see your position. Are you a consequentialist? Then what are you interested in the rules for? Because that is a deontologist position, Emmanuel. So you are so right. Okay.
Thank you.
A certain gentleman, I think I don't remember who had me call the person, or maybe he's fine, so I should just not worry.
Yeah,
Is there another question?
I just married
Are you
yeah.
ready?
I'm fine.
Oh, go ahead.
You
You
I'm
are fine
fine.
now. Okay.
Fine.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Plus one cry for you. Why? In the world of forms, it will come to appearance. Don't worry. Now we can just use the 5 minutes or so left, unless there's a question. I'm patiently waiting. As soon as you have a question, just raise your hand. That's what the essence of today's discussion is. But I will now show you what I said in class when we met last week, Thursday. I used a good time to discuss how bit in an overview form the question of cultural identity in a multicultural state. The whole theme of the paper, I'm projecting now, please, you may want to look on your screen, multiculturalism and the notion of cultural identity. So the author, Miles, is looking at how to reconcile people's pursuit and defense of cultural identity when the persons involved are actually located in a multicultural context. Look at Ghana, for example, or Nigeria. Most of our African countries are heavily multi-cultural in the descriptive sense. You will find so many different ways of life, different languages, different food. I mean, if you do for Nigeria, because of the size, you'll be shocked. I did some research. I mean, many languages, different subgroupings and ethnic groupings, dresses, food. Look at Ghana, Anenzema, Efante, Akan, Asante, Equiapem, and they are all supposed to be Akano. But look at some of the versions of Akan, they are not mutually understandable. I don't speak in Zima, but I'm Akan. The point is so many multiplicities of cultures. Okay. Now, when the author is saying, like I said last week, I just want to put it on record and use it as a way of helping you remember that when we have such multiple ways of life, that's what culture should be. Understand the term culture to mean way of life, the way people live. It is not the same as cultural group or cultural entity. If you want to see where that discussion is going on, it is here. I think that is the section C, section 2 on my screen now, page 4, on the concept of culture, the term culture. Why is it important? Because it is fundamental to how people conceptualize cultural identity and how they make demands. They seek to preserve a supposed authentic culture. Authenticity of a way of life. Culture is originally dynamic. It changes. That's its nature. It's elusive. Because how you are doing things will continue to change. Look at the size of your foot now and compare it to when you were a baby. You want to keep wearing that same shoe? No. We will keep changing how we're doing things. We don't have to do human sacrifice if we did it at all in the past. Now, to ensure good harvest. No. If we have an alternative way of doing it and still getting good harvest, some fertilizer, kakra, checking the patterns. We now know that it's about the patterns of the weather. You say no. Should we still use the sun to tell the time? If that now we can easily look on the clock and collectively all at once know that it's time to close a lecture. You say no, we are waiting for the sun to come up. What if it's rainy season and the sun is not coming? We won't check the time. The way we do things will change. We want to send an announcement across. You say no, it has to be the gong bita. That is our tradition. Gong bita. We'll stand at Flagstaff House and give an announcement by hitting a gong for all the people in Ghana to gather here. Well, we can do that through radio station or through a megaphone or through an announcement, fellow Ghanaians, and then another is talking to the whole world at once. We don't want that. So the point is, change how we do this, what we wear. We should wear what? Straps around our something. We can't take cars. We shouldn't do aeroplane. I could go on and on and on. That is why if you don't philosophically engage the term called culture, you might think that when you hear culture, it means people. That's what is happening. Keep looking on my screen. I project alongside where you can see, please. Apologies to my special students there. Okay. Culture is not people, the people. See, I've highlighted something. No. Culture is not ethnic group. Immediately, if you have any form of sociology or social work, or there's disciplines that study human institutions and how we gather. Augment what you learn there with what you're hearing here, so that you are enriched. When you hear culture, don't think culture and the people, the nation, the ethnic group. It is not the same. That fuels a lot of the conflicts. Because people think they don't belong to your culture. They are different from you. But culture is just how we do things. So if I go to Netherlands, I have to dress and eat like it. I can't go there, like I said earlier, with my kente cloth on my shoulder in the morning, wearing slippers. When it is snowing, say in Iceland, let me name and greeting people, hey, hello, how are you all? Then you stop the man. Hey, so has your wife giving birth? Was the child male or female? Oh, we thank God. When is the naming ceremony? Oh, we'll come. No. Maybe the people don't live that way. That's not how they do things. This may be appreciated by people that share a communal setting and who don't interpret what you are doing as intrusive. Like some of us here in our nation, Ghana. Even your graduation will attract the whole paramount if you are not careful. The whole town will come. And we admire and cherish that. Because they say our son is graduating at Legon. We cherish that. We here referring to what? Say a communal setting like that in most part of Africa. We can even ask you, did your wife give birth to twins? Hey, is it one boy, one girl, or two girls? Hey, when exactly? All these are not considered intrusive for a certain way of life. You see what I'm saying? So if you go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. It's not talking ethics. It's talking cultural relative. It's not talking ethical relative. It's talking how people do things. We greet, for example, say if we're somewhere up north, some of the greeting you lie prostrate. It's respectful. Yoruba also, I think. I watch a certain movie showing that. You don't go and say hi, and then you use the first name of the person. Say hi, Kofi. A superior. Now, you see your ankle figure. Then you say Yao. I am struggling to even say it. See the fine former senior minister in Ghana, who is he a doctor now? No, I think he's Mr. Yao Osafumaf. Then you see him, you level 100. I mean, when you hear people saying, hey, Osafumaf, then you go and say, stand there and say Osaf. It's disrespectful for a certain way of life. So culture is way of life. Finito. The culture of sports, let's say athletics, it's not the culture of tennis or swimming. What you can wear to do 100 meters, skimpy, exposing your, excuse me, ladies, your butt if you are endowed of a kind. And we will watch you internationally running that 100 meters. We won't even feel that you are profane or nude. It won't even occur to us if we are irrational. See? Because that is what you should wear when you're going to run 100 meters. You should wear something skimpy. You can't go and wear kaba and slit and socks and goggles and wear hijab on top, wear gloves in the name of being holy when you are going to run 100 meters. It's not the culture. It will not be acceptable, just as it is not acceptable to wear that skimpy thing to the example. I don't know why. I see some once in a while, and it's almost becoming the norm. It is not the morality of it, it is the cultural acceptance of it. How would you feel if I came to the lecture hall as your lecturer in my bikini because I'm feeling hot? There's no AC at New Envelope. So I come in a very, light, then I have my bra on and I say, hey, hi guys, so let's discuss Ortega. Are you sure you hear Ortega? I'm a mother of four, hello. It's not cultural. So when you hear culture, the author says, don't think ethnic, don't think offended, like it is one group versus another. No, culture is just how we do things. And so if we are in a climatic condition, a place that puts us together in a certain way, it's likely we will share a way of life. As soon as I move to another, I will share a way of life with another group. The culture in church, if I go to church, not the culture at the office. The culture, if I were at a funeral setting at my in-laws at Asante, it's not the culture if I am addressing a conference at Germany, for example. You see, in one setting, the woman in you, per the cultural acceptance of it, will have to come to play. I may not be able to even speak boldly at a certain place, not because I'm not bold, but because it's not culturally acceptable for the woman to be doing that for that event or whatever. You would have to even let a man speak for that, if that is what is culturally acceptable and it doesn't raise any ethical issue. I'm okay. But as soon as the setting changes, you see assertiveness. Why all this? The author is saying that people, there we go to the thrust of the matter. We don't think of other cultures as you would think of other rooms. That's what I've projected alone. People confuse the term culture with an entity. But cultural boundaries are fluid. It's very fluid. 1 minute I'm wearing Chinese, I'm eating Chinese clothing. The next minute I'm wearing jalabia to church. But jalabia is not a church dress. It's either a mosque dress or an ordinary dress. But if the thing is fine and it gives me the freedom of movement to pray myself through 31st night into the new year, what's your problem? I wear it. So what? So don't think that because you came to see me eating gan kinky with them like that, it means I'm a gan. That is what the author is addressing. As if it is essential to my being that if I'm called Adramansa, then it means necessarily, essentially, remember Plato's essentialism, that I can. No, it only tells you that I have an association, I have participated in the way of life of a people that you would call Akan. I may speak like we are doing now, English. We don't inherit with King Charles, so they're speaking plenty English, which is bothering people. Last week I told you in class, if we were to speak this same lecture in Tree or Gan or Fancy oh, it was a chronesco, where I hand, where you be. The person will answer straight. If you have one, you add one, you will do two. I just translated that. Oh, will know the maths. Easy. You come and stand there. What is the product of 2 and 3? What's the square root? And the whole thing has become plenty. Yeah, we are speaking plenty English. Are we English? No. Yet you could also have someone called Ni Odate Lamte, and the person cannot speak one line of Ga. Meanwhile, you want to presume that if you heard that, then the person is Ga. So in what sense then do we say that he is Ga, or she is Fante, or he's Ebe, or Yoruba, or Igbo? That is what is important. The author doesn't deny that. In fact, the author argues that we have to protect, encourage what? Cultural participation, people's belongingness to culture, but only understand that as what? An accidental feature about us as humans. It's accidental. It's not essential to our being. For you to go trying to preserve an identity that you call a cultural one. You seek to preserve a cultural identity in the essential sense. How? What is it? What will qualify as the essential, meaning of cultural identity. So let's revise essentialism a little, if you've forgotten. The essence of a thing, I think it's from Plato, is what? That which makes a thing what it is. Without which the thing will cease to be what it is. The essence of a phone is to give and receive messages, either by call or text. That's what a phone is for. A phone is not a camera. A phone is not a radio. If it has those things, we are happy. They are accidental to the phone's essential being. Take note. Remember Plato. What's the essence of the milk tin? The milk that is in the tin there. It is the liquid in the tin. Huh? If you sip out all the milk, when I was teaching you Plato, I said that, and we joked about it. I used it to, encourage and advise ladies, especially. Don't let Johnny sip out all the juice in the milk tin. The tin is not useful if there is no essence in it. The essence is the milk itself. If he sips out everything, he throw away the tin, and you can't blame him. He can't put the empty tin in his cabinet. To do what? So what? I even use the human person and said all that. So when you talk essence, the essence of man, remember, so a little scripture for those who do scripture. Listen, you are the salt of this earth. Salt is for taste. It might look unassuming. When it's sitting there, it looks even irrelevant sometimes. Like that adango, the local stony salt. It might even look like, oh, this one too, what is it doing? Its essence is its taste to if you like, fry the chicken, give it all the encomiums, don't put salt and see. We can't enjoy it. You put taste. That's what I say. Those who do Bible scripture, I'm sure there will be a version in the other scriptures we all study. Okay, I don't know it. That's why I cite those that I know. Okay, but if you can find an analogy of a type in your scriptures, Hare Krishna, Buddhism, whatever, then you just picture that one. If the salt loses its taste, it is worth nothing than to be thrown on the floor, on the ground, so to speak, and trodden upon. The scripture. You are the light. You don't light and put it under a bushel and cover it. Then you have lost its essence. You must shine. These are all capturing what? Essentialist tone. So essence then means, back to where we are, remember, there is something in the thing that makes it what it is, such that if you took it out, the thing has ceased to be what it is. That's what we are saying. If you seek an essential meaning to the term cultural identity in a person, you will be chasing a goose, what we call a goose chase. You won't find anything. Because if you say, oh, it's the language I'm speaking, Nancy is speaking, that makes her a person of a certain culture. Essentially speaking, it's a lie. I'm speaking English, but I think I do well with it. But I'm not English. I don't inherit with King Charles. I don't have anything in England. But here am I speaking English. There is nothing. It's just a participation in that culture. Which one? Which part of the culture? Their language. If you say you come to find someone living somewhere, well, the fact that how do I even say it? You find a fish, I don't know, give me some example. Doesn't mean that the person is essentially that. If a human being were hung, goes to swim in the sea, is he therefore essentially a fish? No. So the author is cautioning, and I think that's the whole thrust of the matter. That's what we want you to know for the level 100. You can do the other one, the cultural preservation and others, which of course I've discussed with you in level 200 and later. They are all very important. They're still in this text. But here it is the essential sense of cultural identity that I want people to get. Just in case you don't even continue with philosophy, you will need it in your other disciplines to enrich yourself. The contact you've had with philosophy should affect that your political science or sociology or social work or even psychology, information studies that you are doing. It should enrich it, conceptualize well. Because if you are looking for an essential meaning to a concept called cultural identity, you won't find it. You will force it on people. You say, okay, it's the language that defines the person's culture. Yeah, the language defines a person's cultural identity in the accidental sense. Accidental. Now you understand. Just like I told you, AC in a car is an accidental feature, air conditioning. If you have air conditioning in the car, but the car cannot move you from one place to the other, the car has lost its essence too. You can switch the AC and the inside the whole day. It is no longer a car, essentially speaking. So it is accidental to us. If I'm speaking a certain language, it doesn't define my essence, culturally speaking. No, because I can become another thing the next minute. This year, I'm going to my America country. Now I'm not English again. My name is Bon Gayomo Bianeno. Is it I'm no longer a fancy? I become a Gan. If that is how you define, how is essence changing? That essence doesn't change. Essence is fixed. We take it from that and it has ceased to be what it is. But I can change from the language I'm speaking. Some are so multilingual. It's beautiful. The next minute they are speaking English, they move to Swahili. They can do Hausa, some French, some Spanish. Doesn't mean they are French, Spanish, English, this all at once. They keep shifting. That's culture. You eat kenke this minute, the next minute you are dressing bubu, the next minute you are praying in a language you don't understand, for example. The next minute you are participating in a religion that is not authentic to your nation. Christianity and Islam is not typically originated from Africa. And now, okay, let us say from Ghana. But we are here, heavily participating. There we go. So accidental notion of cultural identity, yeah, that one you can defend. And that is what the author says we should be focused on. This is how the person has chosen to express themselves by way of life. And so far as it's not hurting another person, respect that. The lady wears hijab. Give her space. That's her cultural participation. You see, the young girl is now growing. You say she's speaking vernacular. That's her mother tongue. I'm happy we don't see that often now. When I was growing up, class 1, class 2, you come to school and say, me mommy, oh, then they came, they say you've spoken vernacular in class. Then they write your name, vernacular. When you go to Germany, do they speak P there? When that's a problem. Look at what the linguists are saying. Some fine linguists we have in Ghana. I keep telling you, the grooming stage at least let people be connected to their mother tongue. It helps them grab and build concepts easy. So colonize our thinking sometimes. I think it's changing, so we are glad. You see, vernacular. Go and teach this your square root and things in an accessible language. It might not even be the mother tongue of the person. Maybe the person grew up in the north because daddy was sent there to be a teacher or something. But they believe they are southerners, but they grew up there. The culture the person is accustomed to is northern language. Let them learn with that. Go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. Go to China, you eat frog meat. It's fine. You will survive. You won't die. When you come to Ghana to come enjoy those who eat bat and those who eat Joseph. You know Joseph? Cat. Listen, the whole point then is do not go pursuing an identity that is fixed, unchanging. That's what essence is. Remember what Ortega was reacting to. Remember what Plato says. It doesn't change. It's in you. It's static. That is the thing in you that remains forever. You say you're looking for that as a cultural identity in a person. How? So you will force it and say, oh, so on the screen now, we are done. You say, oh, it is the language. We say the language doesn't suffice. Some may not even speak a language at all, but they participate fully in the culture. They don't speak a line of Pante without saying, Aponchi go to. Now, this may across the road, say, I shan't caliber north or down. One line of Pante that my people want to speak, they will incorporate it with plenty of. And people give fans for that. It's not fans, it's embarrassing. They are struggling. They are not See, you have to be able to speak if it's local and you speak it where, and end. If it's English, you are articulate, you speak it to the end. Not a mixture that sometimes we can't get. We are trying, and people say it's fun. We are lost. Look, People may not be able to speak a language, even though they bear a certain name there. Does it then make them necessarily members of that culture? Essentially, no. What can we defend? The particularity of it. That one we can defend. I'm done. So the earlier point there, where people will now, based on that, go and pull heads to try to preserve the original, so-called authentic culture, is what others who are anti-Sankopaism, anti-revival, they don't say, they say, no, we don't have to go to anything in the traditional past. There's nothing to pick there. This generates two extremes. Miles, in her paper, tries to say that whether you say go back for everything in the past, which is the revivalist view, or you say don't take anything in our cultural past, there's nothing to give. These two extremes are all wrong. Why? Why? Because there is something that is worthwhile in the traditional past that we may want to continue. Don't change something that is working and useful, so far as it benefits human well-being. This is the debate going on in the last section of the text, the traditional versus the modern. You don't change it. So if our communality, our sense of belonging, a sharedness is valuable, a consensual approach to matters rather than politics that is majoritarian and 50 plus 1% kind of posture, that is not in our tradition, says those who argue that way. These are worthwhile. They are still useful for today. You have to pick them. So there is something in the past you can go for at least. But there's not everything in the past that is good. So you can't say that go for everything in the past. Like some matrilineal system that will make women of a certain group, or disinherit children because their father comes from so and so, and their mother comes from so and so. If they go to their father's line, say go to your mother and inherit it. If they go to their mother, say you don't inherit it, go to your father. And then the children are left stranded. What kind of a system would that be? Throw that away. You see? So when we go into the cultural past, says Miles, look inside, and she's re-echoing what Jechi and others have said and adding her own arguments. That's what's happening in the text. That's the last section. Cultural, no, handling change. I want to show you the section. It's the section 4. That is it. Okay. Cultural change, the traditional versus the modern. She says, it is not a question of go for everything in the past, like the revivalists say, revive, go and bring everything, revive it. No. Neither is it throw everything in the past away and just take what is modern. That's the anti-revivalism. Miles says no, none is correct. Go into the cultural past with a lens, where a certain lens check. The lens should be what augurs well for human well-being, what is fostering human well-being. Look through with that standard and pick what is useful for today. It's called critical Sankopaism. That's Kwame Jechi's way of capturing that. A critical Sankofa. Sankofa is return for it. You don't just return for everything. No, it has to be a critical one. Pick what is useful for today, because some are baller, you have to leave them there. I've given you an example of it. Then for the modern too, we tell the modernists, it's not everything in the modern that is useful. See, people want to commit suicide. Some are also dying. If you go for an extremely individualistic cultural, socio-political setting, which doesn't allow people to express themselves, they don't have anyone to talk to. If Johnny Brown, Johnny Black, come buy me brown blood. If you let Johnny break your heart, there is no one to even talk to. Your way out might be committing suicide. God forbid that. So we can't go all extremely individualistic, me, myself, and I, my choice. That's what is invoked. That's the way of hello. It's not everything in the modern that is useful. So here again, to the same application, use the lens of what? Human well-being, human welfare. That is what I have highlighted here. If you look at the conclusion of the text, it is talking about that. There is well-being there. Yes. That is the standard that we should use. So whether it is cultural past or cultural present, which one, dear friends, augurs well for the well-being of the person. That's what you should use. It's not every change that is progressive or development oriented. You see that? A certain change may have been moving from A to C. That's what you have done. You were doing well with A, all of a sudden you're having a C. It's a change. Doesn't mean it's progressive. No. But sometimes the change is from a D to a B plus. We are happy. So what do we use to check whether this change is a valuable one that we should embrace, or this change may be disturbing our political system, for example, causing a lot of coups in Africa? It's a change. But perhaps we are wearing someone else's high heels because it's sister, thank you. We are just going to collect everything, hook, line, and sinker, without critical evaluation of what? Its functionality, its usefulness for our time and our place. There is no snow going on in Ghana. Here we have a lot of sunlight in Africa. What are we doing? Can we do solar and stop perhaps depending on ECG and gas and borrowing and following people, and, which is affecting businesses, and people can publish and, I say publish. People can enter into businesses and what have you because of the costs. Maybe if a national agenda pursues going all solar, for example, it is expensive, it's not cheap. But that is why it can be a government agenda for all governments, a national one. When you come, you continue. So we can solar panel Ghana, even maybe from our gold or whatever. Then we don't pay electricity. Look at how people will spring up coal stores. Look at the fishes we have. Think about it. Maybe I've not thought deeply about it yet, but that's why it is a philosophical thing. I throw it out there for reflection, you included. You have cool stores. Some are doing ice cream joint. People, and so there will be jobs. Must we necessarily do the modern without checking its functionality? Everybody does gas, everybody does dams to generate whatever, and so we must go that line. Think. That is what Miles is saying. The way of life must not be fixed. Culture is elusive. Culture is dynamic. The boundaries of supposed cultural identity are fluid. So my mother is Ghana, my father is Ewe. I may choose, or the social setting may choose to group us, categorize us in a certain way. It's not in our essence. It's just how we try to group ourselves. So we say if your mother is Ghana, your father is this, you heard mother. It's just a way of life. It's not anything that is essential to your being, such that if it is taken out of you, you have ceased to be who you are. No, you are Nancy. You are, what are the names? You are Kevin. You are Aaron. A complex blend of several participation in different ways of life globally. Eating Chinese, speaking English, yet eating your apotoyua, the masha pot, eating your egusi stew with vim and eba, with pride, wearing your kente clothing where you can, and doing the suit if the weather changes and you are somewhere else. We participate in a multiplicity of cultures, and that must be respected. Allow them so that the people can make a rational choice for themselves, insofar as they don't infringe on the rights of others. That is what multiculturalism should project, a recognition and an allowing of different ways of life, not an imposition by any group globally or locally, forcing their way of life on others in the name of this is what should be done. When we are not dealing with an ethical matter, I want to eat rat, you want to chew grass. Where is our friction? That is the essence of cultural identity in a multicultural state. So then, any questions? Any question? Let me stop the recording. Any questions? All right.